Hello YouTube and welcome back to RNS Gaming, and we are here with a second place deck profile. And what's your name and what deck did you play?
My name is Aidan Barriett and the deck I was playing was Rockets.
Alright, so let's get into this spicy Rokket deck profile.
First we've got the 3 Rokket Tracer.
Alright.
He searches out your entire deck, so he's extremely useful. Just because, just pop any card on the field including himself, just get a Rokket out of the deck for free.
Alright.
We've got the 3 Magna Rokket. All the Rockets have effects that they use when they're targeted by Link monsters.
Right.
If Magna Rokket is targeted, he destroys himself and then sends a monster on the field to the graveyard.
Okay.
Non-targeting, non-destruction removal.
Right.
So it's extremely powerful in that regard. Silver Rokket Dragon. When he's targeted by a Link monster and destroys himself, he banishes a card from your opponent's extra deck. You get to look through it and do it yourself.
Okay.
I usually use him to banish Super Poly targets, since that card is just the bane of this deck's existence.
Right.
1 Metal Rokket. He destroys everything in the same column as him.
Okay.
So he's useful for what I like to call collaterals.
Right.
We have the 1 Rokket Recharger. If your Dark Link is destroyed, you can special summon a different Dark Dragon monster from your graveyard.
Okay.
So you can use him to get back not only Link monsters, but also your Synchros, your Fusions, or Red Eye's Darkness Metal.
Okay.
We've got the 2 Auto Rokket. He's like Magna Rokket, but he does it for spells and traps instead of monsters.
Okay.
You play 2 of him because he's level 3 as opposed to level 4, so you can't really use him for the Xyz or the Synchros.
Right.
But spell and trap removal is still definitely good to have, as I learned when I played against counter fairies. We have the 1 Anestheta Rokket. He's a big wall to sit on in worst case scenario, and he can also negate a monster's effects and prevent it from declaring an attack.
Right.
So it's helpful for just negation in general. Rokket Synchron, he is a bit of a special case, like Tracer. He doesn't do anything when he's targeted by a Link monster.
Okay.
Instead, he revives a level 5 or lower Dark monster from the graveyard.
Okay.
So he's useful for going into Synchro plays. That's the main reason he's called a Synchron.
Right.
Next, we've got Explode Rokket. This guy is just the ultimate BM monster, because if he's targeted by a Link monster, he destroys himself and burns both players for 2,000.
Okay.
He's good to use if you're just barely off that OTK.
Okay.
Okay, like, maybe good after using Boral Sword. We've got 3 Gateway. It's just a free monster because he lets you summon a level 4 or lower Dark Dragon directly from your hand.
Right.
So, if you have multiple Gateways in your hand, use one, summon the other. So even more free monsters. We've got 1 Defrag. Sends a monster from your hand to the graveyard to summon himself. This works with a bunch of monsters in the deck, mainly Absorouter and Galactic Spiral Dragon.
Okay.
Speaking of which, we've got 3 Absorouter. He summons himself from your hand if you control a Rokket monster, and when he's sent to the graveyard, he searches a Rokket.
Okay.
He's a good Foolish target, as well as good for Defrag Dragon if you have multiple in the hand.
Oh, right.
We have the brothers Wyvern Buster and Collapse Serpent. Pretty self-explanatory.
Right.
Alright, I'd play more Wyvern Buster if the ban list allowed it.
Right.
But these guys are still fantastic cards to use, so...
Okay.
Oh, even if they're at 1, they're still useful. Galactic Spiral Dragon is a good one-of, because he can summon himself from the graveyard if you have 2 lights or 2 darks.
Right.
And he can make everything on the field level 8 as well.
Right.
So he could actually allow you to go into, put Hope Harbinger in your side deck and be able to go into that using him.
Oh, that's
It's not
dope.
the most consistent thing in the world, but it's certainly useful.
Okay.
Plus, he's only banished when he leaves the field. So because of the whole Xyz monster technicality, you could just put him back into the grave to reuse him.
Right.
And last but certainly not least, we have Red Eye's Darkness Metal. Just fantastic dragon support. Can summon itself from your hand for basically no cost.
Okay.
It's just by banishing a monster on the field. If you actually have him in your hand when you're going into the Guard Dragon combo with LP, you can instead use LP to summon Galactic Spiral Dragon and banish the LP.
Right.
We've got 3 Quick Launch. This card is literally just free Rokket. Just lets you summon any Rokket monster from your deck, but destroy it during the end phase.
Okay.
Not really. The end phase destruction isn't that big a deal. The most important part is that it's just a free Rokket. We have the 2 Boral Regenerator and the 1 Monster Reborn.
Alright.
I grouped these together because I'd probably replace the Monster Reborn and one of the Boral Regenerators with what's the name? World Legacy Guard Dragon. That's what it is. Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, but for now I'm just playing the 2 Boral Regenerate and the 1 Monster Reborn. Boral Regenerator is good in some instances because if the monster it's equipped to is destroyed, you get to draw a card.
Right.
Which is nice, but it doesn't let you do that if you go into Link plays, which is the only problem.
Okay.
We play 2 Boot Sector Launch. Summons up to 2 rockets from your hand if you're... it can either summon up to 2 rockets from your hand in defense with different names, or if your opponent controls more monsters than you do, you can summon rockets from your graveyard with different names up to the difference.
Alright.
So it's a very good comeback card as well as just 2 free rockets from the hand.
Right.
We play 2, and because there is an extra deck monster that can search it, however, with your opening combo, Tracer can pop this to get another rocket onto the field.
Okay.
So that's why we play 2 of them.
Alright.
And because, unlike Salamangreat, you kind of tend to destroy your own field spell a lot.
Right.
We've got the 1 Foolish and the 1 Dragon Shrine. I'm playing 1 of each because they're both, Foolish is limited, and Dragon Shrine's a hard once per turn, so playing 1 of each is a good way to balance it out.
Right.
We've got the 1 Dragon's Mirror. This card is combo extension. It lets you go into the fusion, as well as using it for other combo plays.
Okay.
Because banishing the rockets from your graveyard isn't necessarily that big of a deal.
Right.
Because if they've used their end phase, like, recharge effect, then it's not that big of a deal.
Okay.
I forgot to mention, but all the rockets, when they're destroyed by battle or card effect, including their own, they summon another rocket from the deck.
Okay.
Or at least the ones that have effects when targeted by links.
Right.
Anyway, 3 Called by the Grave. Hand traps will just destroy you, so this is definitely important to have.
Okay.
And then we move on to the extra deck. First, we have 2 Striker Dragon. This guy searches the field spell, which is incredibly useful. Plus, he can destroy himself or any other card on the field to add a rocket from your graveyard to your hand.
Alright.
So this works well with, like, for example, Recharger. You destroy him using his own effect, and then Recharger triggers, allowing you to bring back Red Eye's Darkness Metal or any other Dark Link in your...
Oh, that's
any
nice.
of the other dragons in your grave, which is really helpful.
So just a whole combo extension on top of searching your field.
1 LP.
Uh-huh.
This guy is good for the opening combos, just because you can get Darkness Metal out of the deck, which is really helpful. We've got the 1 Booster Dragon. This guy can boost up your monsters a little bit, hence the name. And also, when he is destroyed, he can summon a... when he's sent to the graveyard, rather.
Right.
He can just summon another... he can just summon one of your Borals out of your graveyard.
Okay.
So he's useful for revival, as well as going into in the opening, like, Guard Dragon combo, if you've used Rocket Tracer's effect.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the 1 Heretic Seal. This is the card you usually go into in the opening combo. However, if you used Rocket Tracer's effect, you can't go into him because he's light attribute. That stinks, but still a good monster.
Right.
Tributes itself to bounce an opponent's card and gets a rocket from your deck.
Okay.
We've got 1 Deligerous. This guy's main use is that when you normal or special summon a rocket from your grave, well, just in general, you can summon him from your grave.
Okay.
So it's a free link 2 to help extend your combos.
Right. To go into 4s, whatever.
Yep, to go into Link 4s, etc. We have Quad Boral Dragon. This guy's useful because if your opponent has an unprotected Link monster, like a Saryuja, you can use his effect to discard a card to destroy it, and then summon rockets from your graveyard up to the monster's Link rating.
Right.
So if you pop like an unprotected Saryuja with this, that's 4 rockets from your graveyard, which you could use to go into Synchros, Xyz, or just use their effects.
Right. That's dope.
Yeah, it's really good. Because if your opponent has, like I said, just a vulnerable Link monster, this thing will just... It's free card advantage for destroying their monster. What's not to love? We have Boral Load, Boral Guard, and Boral Sword. These are the deck's boss monsters, as one would expect. Most people don't actually know that the Borals actually have their own archetype, but that's why I'm here. You want to go into them based on your opponent's field. Boral Load's usually the safest bet to go into on the opening turn. However, if you know your opponent's playing a very, destruction-heavy deck, then Boral Guard might be a better idea.
Right.
And Boral Sword is there to deal a lot of damage and kind of go in for the kill.
Okay.
You don't really want to make Boral Sword on the first turn, since he's just going to get outed immediately. Because he's just got battle protection, and that's it. So yeah, these guys are the main boss monsters. We've got the one Borreload Furious Dragon to summon with the Dragon's Mirror. This guy's useful because he can destroy another card on your field, including himself and one of your opponent's cards.
Right.
And then he can banish himself from the graveyard to revive a Borrel. So it incentivizes using his own effect to destroy him.
Okay.
We have Beelzel. This is the part where I would put Borreload Savage Dragon, if I could afford it.
Right, it's expensive right now.
Yeah, it's like $45.
Last time I saw it was 35. It's 40-something bucks
Well,
now.
it's still really expensive, but
Okay.
Beelzel is definitely a good alternative because he's destruction immune, meaning decks like Salamangreat might have a hard time getting around him now that Mirage Stalio's banned.
Right.
Plus, if you take damage from like a card effect or battle involving him, he gains that much attack points.
Okay.
So it's helpful for like, you could just ram him into a stronger monster from your opponent, and then suddenly their attack is tied.
Right.
So that's useful. We have the one Draco Berserker of the Tenny. This guy's useful because just he banishes an opponent's monster that activates its monster effect,
All right.
which is definitely helpful. Plus, if he, let me check if I'm reading this right. Yeah, if he destroys an opponent's monster by battle, like an effect monster, he gains attack equal to the monster's attack and then can attack again.
Okay. What are we looking at on time?
And so it's really just really powerful
Okay.
in that regard. And then we have the one Borreload X-Charge Dragon. He lets you revive your Borrel monsters from the graveyard, as well as just being a rank 4 with 3,000 attack,
All right.
making him very powerful. And then finally we've got the Abyss Dweller.
Self-explanatory.
Yep, self-explanatory, deals with graveyard effects, very useful against a lot of decks in the meta. And that's it.
All right, no side?
Well, I do have a side deck, but it's mostly just self-preference.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
I'll
just speed through it. Just speed
I'll
through
just
that
speed through
then.
it. 3 Lancia, Banish
Other way.
Prevention.
Other way.
3 Lancia, Banish Prevention.
Uh-huh.
Super Poly targets.
Right.
Along with Super Poly itself.
Mm-hmm.
3 Shared Ride. Hang on, there we go. 3 Shared Ride. Useful for if your opponent does a lot of searching, just pluses. And then 3 Twin Twisters if you need more help dealing with back row.
All right.
I originally had this in the main deck, but I need to focus more on combo pieces.
Right. So
And that's it.
That's it. And thank you so much. We really do appreciate it. And this is Roy and Steve right here representing RNS Gaming. But before we end it, quick shout outs. Any shout outs?
Not really, no.
Okay.
The only YouTube channel I haven't really uploaded anything on since like several years ago.
All right. So yeah, this is Roy and Steve from RNS Gaming. And congrats again. And we're out.